of the Blacktop podcast. I mean, it's a great day. We're coming off of LeBron just broke the scoring record. The Bucks just bounced the Lakers. Jakob Pertl is back home. It's a beautiful day. Ruben, how you doing, bro?
Bro. Yo, tell me about Portland, eh? That was a good time.
Yeah, I just got back from Portland with my girl. It was very, very solid. I will say, I kind of jinxed the game because I remember right before we went in, I was like, I just hope it's not a blowout. And,
Uh,
Portland, Dame had that one cool highlight where I got to see the logo Lillard in full effect, but you know, it was a very there was no back and forth. It was just very much Milwaukee pounced right at the beginning. I think they jumped out to like might have been like 12-0 or like 12-3 in the first few minutes, but got to see Giannis. Chris Middleton was playing. Like I think all teams were pretty much healthy outside of Nurkic, which was probably like the big reason why they ended up not really giving them any pushback. But it was a great trip overall.
yeah, it wasn't nice watching your team get a win though, regardless if it was a competitive game or not.
No doubt, no doubt. I mean, they just won today. They're on a 9-game win streak, and they added a former son, so we got the inside information.
Yeah, yeah. We talked about this too. Like we talked about that, but we
Yeah,
know
we'll
there's a lot of
we'll
trades
we'll,
we'll
we'll
go
get
through
back
them.
into
But
that later. Let's get right into it today. We're just gonna break down the trade deadline that just happened. Undoubtedly, this is probably the craziest trade deadline we've ever had. I mean, the only one that can I think even rival it is maybe probably the 1 year before they decided to push it to pre All Star game, and like Boogie just got traded. Like, was it before or after the game? It was definitely like mid All Star break. I know that, but I think that's probably the
well,
craziest one off
that was
what I
crazy
can
because he got
remember.
traded at All Star break, right?
Yeah, I think he found out mid interview too.
Yeah, that's insane. I mean, like just talking about the social media stuff, like we're seeing more and more of these guys find out through social media, like the whole Mikal Bridges thing that he found out
Yeah, that
when
was crazy.
when who not Saban Lee, it was Damian Lee gave him a call, FaceTime to be like, dude, I'm sorry. And Mikal didn't even know until he checked his Instagram. Dinwiddie was going back and forth like, oh yeah, if Sham says you're gone, you're gone. Like, that's insane, dude. Like these guys, can you imagine like you finding out that you had to switch jobs or you got let go or you got traded or you got switched positions, whatever it is, through social media.
Pat
And that
Bev
not
predicted
even
his own trade to an extent.
yeah, bro. Like I don't know, that's just insane to me. There's a lot to talk about, but I just thought like social media and this the way the trades are being reported and like the lack of transparency from front office to agents to players. It's kind of sad, man. It's kind of sad. It makes you think about it. And you
Yeah,
see a guy like you gotta see a guy like Mo Bamba who was out of there quick. You see that video or that photo? Like he had the moving trucks like literally hours after.
damn. No, I didn't
He
see
had the
that.
U-Haul trucks like hours after he was traded. That dude wanted out of Orlando, man. That was quick.
Man, before we can get to such a crazy move like Mo Bamba going to the Lakers, let's start it off nice and hot. The Phoenix Suns have
Yeah.
acquired Kevin Durant and TJ Warren in exchange for Mikal Bridges, Cameron Johnson, Jay Crowder, who evidently went to the Bucks, and 4 unprotected first round picks. Those are 2023, 2025, 2027, 2029, and finally a 2028 pick swap. Now, you know, let's just get right to it, Ruben. Who do you think really won the trade?
Oh, Phoenix, no doubt.
You think? I
I
think
think so.
2029 will probably be, I think, the final kind of year to see. I think that's the only way the Nets can really come out on top.
I think
If
this
in
was really good.
2029 they're all gone, kind of
Yeah,
thing.
I think it was really good draft compensation that they got, and I think that was the value for Kevin Durant is 4 first round picks and 2 stud young players, which they got.
Mm.
But the reason I say Phoenix won is because like they're in a win now window, and they managed to maximize that by getting the best available talent in the market. And like I just we can have a conversation about like the rest of this roster, but when you get the best player in the trade, most of the time you're gonna win the deal, and they leverage a little bit of their future. but at the same time, they still have Devin Booker, DeAndre Ayton guys under contract. They're young players, right? That's still a solid foundation that you can still build around. Um, and yeah, even though they lose those picks, I mean, they still have, if I'm not mistaken, they still have their 24, their 26, right? So
Yeah,
they
those
do
are the
have some
next.
draft.
Those are the only two up until 2029
Yeah,
and
which
2028, but they'll get the less favorable pick.
yeah, exactly. So it's like they have some draft picks left, but they've clearly you can see that Phoenix has also been sort of a destination. At least it
Yeah.
seems. I mean, you take it all the way back. Like Shaq signed with that team, right? Like, or was he traded? He was traded, right? Can't remember if he
No,
was
I think
traded
he
or not
signed
from
there.
Miami.
He got traded to Miami for sure, but I don't
But
remember him leaving Miami through a trade.
and that's the thing. Phoenix is going to be a destination spot, underratedly. But I think we're going too far off there. Simply say I think Phoenix won the trade because I don't know how you look at that team and you don't say yeah I think they're betting favorites now because man I don't know how you just adding Kevin Durant. We talked about this team a lot. We're like, oh, this team's gonna fall. This team's garbage. Like Chris Paul is older than Christ. Like, but you add Kevin Durant, right? And he's even though he's 35 right now, that's a guy that elevates everything you do on the court. And so him and Devin Booker space the floor. Aiton's gonna be like the biggest beneficiary, I think. That allows Chris Paul to be less demanding or demanded to produce, and I think that allows him just to sit back and be the point guard that he is. Um, so anyway, I think Phoenix wins because their title window is as good as any at this point because it's been so wide open. Like the Denver Nuggets are like one of the best teams in the West, right? But that whole conference is so open, regardless
Yeah,
of what we
they haven't
say.
really. I don't think they've ever really been able to sort of cement themselves as like a Boston has been able to.
Exactly,
Yeah.
100%. But I don't know. What do you think? Because I think I personally would say both teams got really good returns.
Mm.
But I mean, I'm just gonna go with the team that gets the best player more often than not. But I don't know if you feel differently.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I'm definitely in the minority here. I mean, when I made like a little TikTok about it, I gave Brooklyn an A and I gave Phoenix a B. And I think that's just for the fact that when you look at the whole roster itself, and I kind of went back and forth with this dude on TikTok, and it's basically, you know, I think as great as the 1 through 4 will be, everything 5 through like 10 is pretty ass. There's not really anything there except maybe TJ Warren. TJ Warren, I think, is the one kind of saving grace here outside of obviously them getting Kevin Durant. I mean, seeing how he was to start the year, hopefully he's able to like continue to get back into rhythm. And I think him and Campaign heading that second unit along with maybe Jock Landale, it's promising, but I still think that you lose three of your rotational starters, and then on top of that, 4 unprotected first, the 2028 swap. Now, I'm not saying it's similar to the Nets in like 2012 or 2013 or whatever it is, because Paul Pierce and Kevin Garnett were way older, but I think you can't really crown a full winner until 2029 hits. Who knows?
Yeah,
Maybe
that's
that
true.
pick conveys into Bryce or whatever it may be. So I think both teams for sure come out ahead, but I just think that with how volatile the Suns could be, especially with CP3 potentially retiring in the next year or
Yeah.
two, DeAndre Ayton. I think as great as it might be, I think he's still a guy that wants his touches, and adding a Kevin Durant is not going to really help with that. So I think there's potential disgruntlement here, but we all know that winning fixes everything. So I think that's a very minor thing, but
Yeah.
I think it all just really hinges on one, if they win, there's really no talking about it because you know I think the Lakers only get shat on because they're the Lakers. I think, and that is LeBron. If it's another kind of top tier like squad with like major players, if they win that one ring, I don't think anybody's really like chatting crazy. And I think it's the same thing here, where if they win one, is kind of undeniable in a sense. DB finally gets his first ring. CP3, it's like this similar to when Curry won his Finals MVP. It's kind of that last thing on his resume, which is crazy in itself to really say like he
Yeah.
needs it. But I think it's just
Yeah.
looking at how these next few years are gonna go. Like short term, for sure the Suns like come out ahead, no doubt. But looking at how these next few years are gonna go could be interesting. And I will say, I don't know how you feel about how the Nets look now, but it's giving me a la 2019 vibes, man. I mean, Cam, McCall, or two Cams, Cam Thomas, Cam Johnson, Spence. I think that team's going to be super solid. Obviously they're not going to make any crazy noise, but they're not going to be like an easy win either. I don't think entirely, especially with Claxton too.
Yeah, it's funny. I mean, I'll take this both ways. I'll kind of branch off and I'll come back to you on what we're talking about with the Nets. I'm also in the minority that I think that the whole depth conversation with regards to the Suns, in my opinion, maybe it's a hot take or not, but I think it's complete bull. I don't think depth is that important when it comes to the playoffs. And we've seen time and time again, like the best teams, regardless, they shrink the rotation to 8 to 9 guys. And typically it's whether guy number 6, 7, 8, or 9 can have one good game in a playoff series.
That's fair. Yeah.
And so I just want to go down like quickly the roster, right? So let's look at the rotation guys. So we already know that Chris Paul, Devin Booker, Torrey Craig, Kevin Durant, and DeAndre Ayton. That's likely their starting lineup, or TJ Warren, whatever. TJ Warren, we all know that he's a capable scorer. He's still getting back to the level that he was at because of his health. But
MJ in the bubble, baby.
I still think he's going to be solid. Like I think he is a valuable pickup, and I think this also there was a lot of wing depth in Brooklyn already before all the trades. So I'll go to that after, but I think this opens up the opportunity for TJ Warren to have a little bit more freedom. And then you're still talking about a guy like Saban Lee, who seems to have created a lane for himself. Josh Okogie, campaign. They still have Landry Shamet, and then Jock Landale has been a really nice big for them. He's been playing really good spot minutes, and he seems to have been a positive on both ends. And don't forget, they just acquired Darius Baisley. So,
I'm not really raving over Darius Baisley.
right, but
I
that's
think
still a
he's
guy
like,
who's a rotational player in the league.
yeah, but
And
it
he's got a lot of promise. He's still a 22-year
Bismack's
old
still
kid.
on the team, right?
Yeah, and I think,
Like,
again,
okay,
that's a veteran big presence they
completely
have.
off topic, or maybe not really, but if you're Monty, are you putting Darius above a guy like Bismack in your playoff rotation?
I mean, it depends. It depends on the
I guess
matchup.
yeah. Well, that, and we'll see how like these next few weeks or months go. Because I mean,
Yeah.
he couldn't crack like starting minutes when he was in OKC. Now you're gonna throw him on a
Yeah.
contender. We'll see.
Yeah, I think Oklahoma City's a weird one. I think he just found his. I think he was the odd man out in that weird big man rotation.
Yeah,
Big
especially with the
wing
emergence
rotation.
of Jalen Williams too.
Yeah, Jalen Williams. Then you're talking about still with Poku and Giddy, Lou Dort. Um, you know, and when Chet comes back, it's kind of like he's an odd man out at this point.
Mm.
So I think this is a really nice new opportunity for him to kind of create his lane. He's a young player. That's a team that the Suns can be like, okay, well, we gave up a lot of draft compensation. We might as well have a project. And it's not like Darius Baisley is a bad player by any means. He just hasn't been able to be proven, and he's shown some ups and some downs. But, anyways, what I'm trying to say is that this team does have 8 or 9 guys that they can throw it out in a playoff game, and most of these guys are, quite frankly, playoff proven. So, I mean, and then when you're top heavy like that, the beautiful part about your rotation is that you can always have a top tier guy on the floor at all times.
Well,
Whether
that
that's
and
eight,
KD is definitely playing like 42 minutes a game when it gets to the
yeah,
playoffs. Yeah.
yeah, and so is Devin Booker, and so is Devin Booker. So, I mean, just thinking about the luxury that you can be like, okay, well, we're gonna have CP and Book out at the same time, or we're gonna have KD and Book at the same time, or CP and Aiton, or Aiton and Book, or whatever. And you can always have your best players, your top tier guys on the floor with your other rotational players. It's all about fit. So it's an interesting time for Monty to see how well he's going to be able to, kind of sync these guys with like just under 2 months left to go in the season. For the Brooklyn side, you know what this reminds me of? Like you said, 2019 Brooklyn Nets. You know what this reminds me of? Um, 2011, 2000, no, yeah, 2011 Denver Nuggets when they traded Carmelo Anthony to the New York Knicks. Then they got that package full of players, and then Denver went on
Was
to
that the year
become,
Iggy was on the Nuggets?
yeah,
Oh, bro, that was a squad. Yeah, yeah.
bro, that was
That
Danilo
was that
Gallinari,
was a dirty team. Oh my goodness.
bro. That's what I'm
I
saying.
like that.
Look at the talent. Cam Thomas, Dorian Finney-Smith, Spencer Dinwiddie, still Ben Simmons. I mean, like you get whatever the alerts out on this dude, like Amber Alert, you can't find him. But Claxton. Who else am I forgetting that they just acquired? Cam Johnson and then Mikal Bridges. Obviously, the guys they just got in this deal for Kevin Durant, right? That's a deep team. And then I think where they're gonna go into the offseason, they have so much draft compensation. Like they have so many draft assets, and then they have one, two, three guys that teams will be looking at in the offseason. Dorian Finney-Smith, Mikal Bridges, Cam Johnson. I think Mikal Bridges is going to stay at Brooklyn net. I think they really
Mm.
believe in his future, but a guy like DFS is going to be like highly touted throughout the offseason as a player that can help a contending team. Whether or not they decide to keep him. The same thing with a guy like Spencer Dinwiddie, right? And I think they have a lot of assets to work with. And I think that's a place where, so funny we use this quote. Kyrie Irving said, like, before he joined the Nets, where it's like, oh, I already like what they're building up there, right? And then when they joined, they had to tear the whole thing apart. If I was a star player and I was looking for a new role, if I was, let's say, an OG Anunoby, and said, hey, I have the opportunity to sign somewhere, I'm going to be like, I think I can go and carve my own role out there because this is a team that doesn't have a significant scorer. DFS, Mikal, and Cam Johnson, all three probably aren't going to stick around with Brooklyn this offseason or whatever it is. I'm just saying, if I was a star player looking for, the opportunity to lead and rarely have we seen this occasion, but I'm just saying, just using it as an example. Brooklyn's a team that's set up for contention. And if
Yeah,
they had the
they
start,
just need like that one kind of home run hitter, and they're good.
yeah. And that's the thing. It's like if they didn't make this trade for Kevin Durant and they didn't get Cam Johnson and Mikal Bridges, the team still probably would have been a really good playoff team in the Eastern Conference because you're talking about Dorian Finney-Smith, Spencer Dinwiddie, Kevin Durant, Ben Simmons, the emergence of Cam Thomas,
Mm.
or yeah,
Claxton's
um,
playing at a DPOY level,
and
no doubt.
yeah. Um, so I mean, that's to say, like this team is clearly well built. That's why I was comparing them to that Nuggets team because even though they don't have an all-star right now, like the Nuggets had with Iggy, I mean, it's not to say that there's a player there that can't transform into that, and that could be Mikal Bridges. And there's a lot in their games that are very similar. Iggy's more of a playmaker than Mikal was, but there are a lot of two-way elements that really mirror each other. So, um, yeah, the Nets are an interesting team. I think they're going to stay in the playoff hunt.
Yeah, that and Jock Vaughn, I think is still. Jock Vaughn is for sure going to get some Coach of the Year like nods. I don't think he'll actually win it, but seeing how he was able to turn that ship and then
Yeah,
seeing what he's going to be able to do with this team, that's probably one of like I think a sleeper storyline coming heading into this year, no doubt.
well, he should absolutely get Coach of the Year consideration. I wouldn't even be mad if he won it.
Me neither.
If they manage to stay a top six team in the Eastern Conference, after all the changes that they went through, after all the
Oh, if they
BS,
stay top six, undoubtedly, no doubt.
yeah,
I think it has to be.
I don't know. I don't know. I don't know if there's much of an argument to give him there.
It's
Um.
either that or Missoula. I'd say.
Oh yeah, yeah. Actually, you're right. Missoula has been as good as there's been. I mean, he came into it with it- this offseason for the Boston Celtics freaking crazy.
Yeah.
And he walked in and goes, "Hey, we're gonna be the best team in the league." So, um, I don't know, tough.
I mean, keeping on that Boston Celtic tip, just a little tribute to Christian because he can't be here. Not gonna lie, I think this might be the sleeper move of the entire deadline. Celtics get Mike Muscala. The Thunder get Justin Jackson, who they're gonna waive, and then 2 second-round picks. Now, I think the main thing this does here is obviously fills that hole of another big, but Mike Muscala can stroke that thing, cuzzo. I mean, I think they're gonna have the ability to play 5 out now, like fluidly, and they'll be able to have like competent size at each position, and I think this really solidifies them. I don't think they were. I think Jakob Pertl was like the ultimate excess pick, the ultimate excess pickup, whatever it may be. But I think Mike Muscala is like kind of the picture perfect fit that you could get.
No, I agree. I was just gonna say the only thing I would add is it's all about fit.
Yeah,
And considering Horford's health, I think Muscala is a great pickup. They needed a big who can stretch the floor.
yeah,
Um, does just that, and it's quite frankly insurance because with Horford and Robert Williams' health, you don't know, quite frankly. Um, so Muscala's a great pickup. Um, I'm I'm also not surprised. There are a lot of people who are saying Boston was really quiet. But yeah, I think this is a solid. I mean, what are you gonna do? Trade Jalen Brown? I know, like this team has a lot of pieces to work with, man. I think this team. I'm of also the side of if it's not broke, don't fix it.
yeah. If they didn't do anything, I don't think it would have been like cause for alarm, no doubt.
Hmm. I mean, again, you look at they got a lot of good pieces. Tatum and Jalen Brown are as good of a duo there is in the league. So, I mean, yeah, nothing really needed there. I will say there's one team that I was shocked that did absolutely nothing. And then they went on to say that they weren't going to trade him, like Karis LeVert, like Cleveland did nothing. That's a
Yeah,
team I was surprised
that
that did
was.
absolutely nothing.
Well, I also think they might probably think that they can just fix it in house in a sense. You know, Isaac Okoro is kind of starting to turn a little leaf slowly, and you still got guys like Lamar Steven. And then I think it's just because you have that framework set up to where, you have the guys that can kind of pick up the slack for not having a prominent, like solidified wing to the point where it would have been another excess thing, I think, to where if you pick up like even a guy who's average making say like 10, 12 mil a year, somewhere down the line, someone's not going to get their money in a sense, I think.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, it's just weird because I think Cleveland's a little bit hampered because they don't have a lot of their draft assets, right? Because they use a
Yeah.
lot of it to acquire Donovan Mitchell, and so I think the offers for Karis LeVert were probably not great, which is why they also had to say, "Hey, Karis, we're not going to trade you, but we want to make sure that you're happy by the time we get to the playoffs." Versus disgruntled because we were trying to deal you and we got nothing, so we're just going to keep you. I mean, there's the psychological part of it. I mean, let's be real, right? Like the Karis LeVert experiment in Cleveland hasn't worked. Um, so if Okoro's going to turn the leaf and be that guy, I think it's great.
Harrison
But I
six
think
man.
they still, I mean, I still think there's a significant hole in that roster. Um, so past deadline will be an interesting topic that we can have another time. But once like the dust has settled, maybe after All Star break, I think if there's a team that has a pretty big downfall, and you had to bet, not downfall, I guess like some,
Like
they
slipping a
fall.
little bit. You think it's
Yeah,
Cleveland? Hmm.
some slippage. I would definitely bet on Cleveland Cavaliers.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's another one of those things where, I mean, you just said it. If it happens, I wouldn't be super surprised. But let's turn over back to the East. I mean, brother, the same guy that came in the same draft class with Pascal Siakam is back in the Raptor uniform. How you feeling about the Jakob Pertl acquisition and just overall, just whole? Because obviously, everybody was saying this whole trade deadline's hinging on Toronto, and then everything that happened, and it all kind of blew up in our face in a sense. How are you feeling after this deadline with your team?
I feel neutral, and there's this reason why.
Yeah, I
Neutral
think that's a
because
perfect word.
right, yeah, exactly, and you know it. This team change needed to happen, and I think they got a bit of change. Jakob Poeltl is really going to help them, and that clearly showed that the team is not selling. Because it's clear Masai wants to assess who the real parts of the future are moving forward, and that's tough because you have two potential UFAs this offseason in Fred and Gary Trent, who could walk for absolutely nothing. And I think Fred is of the mindset that he's willing to sign for however money. I think Toronto keeps Gary because they've got the bird rights. I think they're going to give him the 25 million a year. That's a really good number for a guy like Gary Trent.
Yeah, that's not even that bad.
Not at all. I mean, he's a 23-year-old guy who's a grenade. Like the dude is explosive. He's one of the best defenders in the open floor, deflections, whatever. But again, that's the situation is you got assets that could walk in the off season. So I'm a little bit upset because of the fact that I think a deal needed to happen, whether that was OG for young players in compensation, whether that was Fred being traded for draft compensation and a young player. Um, and there were multiple deals being discussed. Terrence Mann, first round pick for Fred. The Clippers turned that one down apparently, which is quite crazy because that's a really cheap price for an all-star point guard.
Yeah.
Terrence Mann and a first round pick. I mean, deals were discussed for OG, and I think it has just ultimately backfired on them because I just don't think the value that they saw for their players was what they actually received from teams around the league, which is fair. So I'm not gonna if Masai's not gonna pull in a trade that he doesn't feel is gonna it's just more of a lateral move. It's not a needle moving, or it's not gonna take them any specific direction. Then I think you keep it as is. So in that case, it's like okay, well, you go in with the same core guys. Clearly, there's an issue. Masai Ujiri, he addressed it in the press conference, saying there's a lot of selfish play, and that's to be expected considering now you'll have three guys playing for contracts in contract years, including Jakob Pertl. So that's one side. I'm a little bit disappointed that nothing happened there. Whether that was Masai being too greedy with the deals, and it was also reported that it seems like GMs really hate dealing with Masai because it's like squeezing blood out of bone.
Yeah.
Um,
Masai's never gonna get finessed. He's always gonna be the finesser.
yeah, the only problem is that nothing's ever going to happen because nobody wants to deal with him except for RC Buford, like in San Antonio. Like, um, and on the other end, I do like Jakob Pertl because now it gives him a real chance. Because when you go in on any given night now without a real big man, uh, yeah, you're gonna have the record that the Raptors do with their 4 games under 500. Which reminds me, they are at 10th place, and they're a couple games out of the 6th seed. So, I mean, take that for what you will.
Hey, I'm
Um,
not gonna lie. With this move, I'll say it. I think if there's a team I'm buying some decent stock in, Raptors, man.
yeah, no, exactly, and I think that's a team that can get to the 6th seed, especially with Brooklyn. I mean, I think that's a team that could stay there, or it's a team that could fall out. Cleveland, the same thing. Um, so I do like the Yak deal, because you go in with a starting caliber center. He was obviously really looked after this year. A lot of teams were wanting him. You bring him in; he's one of the best defensive centers in the league. The problem is, do you start him, or do you start the original Raptors five and just have Yak come off the bench? I don't think you can because Jakob Poeltl is a guy who wants a contract. He's going to be playing for a contract, and he's a starting caliber center. Like he's one of the top centers in the league, and so um, I don't know how you can have him come off the bench. So then, who comes off the bench? Gary Trent.
I feel like you let
He's playing
Gary
for a
Gary
contract.
Trent play for the six man.
Yeah, but I mean, his role has changed multiple times. He's
Mm.
clearly better as a starter. Fred VanVleet, you gonna take him on the bench? That guy's got way too much pride. There's no way you take OG Anunoby, a guy who's been clamoring for a new role. And you obviously don't. There's not a conversation about Scotty Barnes or Siakam coming off the bench at all. And let's also not forget Precious Achua has emerged being a starter for the Raptors. So it's like, okay, so who's the odd man out? So that's another problem. So I'm really neutral about it because I really like Jakob Poeltl. He's everything that we needed. I just think we were a year too late with that deal. And we gave up 2024 draft compensation, which is fine because that draft looks like garbage. Um, to be quite frank, sorry for anybody who's listening to this and you're actually going to be a potential draft pick in 2024. Sorry, there's no Wembanyama, there's no Scoot Henderson, there's no
The
Cade
top pick,
Cunningham
what,
in that.
PJ Wagner? So that's
Yeah,
I think that's one of the only guys I know coming in that draft.
yeah, it's not a great draft class. So, um, anyways, that's me just saying there should have been more done, but I'm glad they did something that addressed a need. I just think that it's too late.
Mm. Yeah, I think only thing I have to add is I think Siakam might be able to hit another gear with this move. Now that's assuming that Pirtle starts, and then through that Siakam's able to play more of that four role, which is I think definitely his natural position. You know, not going to have to be banging it down low with like a Jokic or any of the number of elite centers that the league has now. It's Pascal, I think, is going to be able to like really flourish now that he's not being forced to play the five for sure.
Yeah, and one of the things people forget too about Jakob's game is he's one of the best players in the short roll.
Oh,
Uh,
such an underrated playmaker.
yeah. Oh my god, and that's awesome for a guy like Pascal, who is really good off the ball and really good in high mid post. So that'll be so fun to watch them too, and they have great chemistry, good friends.
Yeah.
So
Building off of that, now you're seeing that they're both like not I don't want to say peak, but they've definitely improved from the last time they were on a court together for sure.
absolutely, and I'm gonna throw on one thing really quickly. Um, um, I think this was a trade to try and make sure Siakam stays happy.
Yeah, you can look at it that way. I see that.
So, I mean, take that for what you will. Um, but yeah, I genuinely think that Masai is thinking a little bit about his all NBA player, making sure that dude's happy when, things come around, especially that been having a down year.
I mean, do you think this was the player that Masai mentioned when Nick Nurse said boom?
Yeah, I don't know about that one. Yeah, Caperto's great. I'm really excited to see him. I think he's gonna play tomorrow. Funny thing about him is they played last night.
he was in Toronto when the thing happened, didn't it?
Yeah, and he stayed the night. He didn't go back to San Antonio, and apparently, before he did his physicals, he was at the OVO training facility having breakfast. And everyone knows Jakob Poeltl is a big eater, and so it's kind of as if like the dude never left.
Yeah.
And so I think this is a really good vibe thing too, right? Like this team's vibes are off, like they're bad. And this team has had some of the best vibes. Like this has been a fun organization to watch over the last couple of years, except for this year in the Tampa year. So I think Jakob's gonna add some happiness, some morale.
Hell
So
yeah.
again, neutral, but Jakob Poeltl's a good player, and at the end of the day, when you get good players on your team, you're gonna be excited to watch.
No doubt, no doubt. Speaking of good players, Jay Crowder's a Milwaukee Buck now. No, that's just me
That's a good
segueing
pickup
into
though.
no doubt. And it was kind
You
of
just
that.
got to see what he has though. Like that's
Yeah,
the only thing. The dude
this was
hasn't
like I
played a
think the
game this
first
year.
one of those. Man, what the fuck was it with people throwing around 5 second round picks? That's
Yeah,
if
okay,
anything, that's the craziest thing that happened this deadline. The 2K shit.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know what happened. Like, why are second round pick value? Why are they so low? Like, we just had a bunch of dudes. Like Fred VanVleet is a undrafted player. Like, you can find
Chris
gems in the second
Middleton,
round.
second round player.
I don't know. I don't get the we're just throwing around second round draft picks like they're dollar bills in a strip club.
For real. I think it's just the fact that if there's like if you're that close, especially if you're well, I think the Nets they gave the 5 or they got the 5, but I think some of them got spread to Indiana because in order to make like the salaries match, we sent Ibaka, Nora, and George Hill. Sad face. I hope if Milwaukee does win, I hope he still gets a ring because George Hill deserves a ring. He's a stand-up guy.
Yeah.
But it's crazy, man. Like I feel like it's just that point where you're not because correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think they're affected by the stipend rule, so you can just kind of throw them however. So
Yeah.
I think it's just like if it's that last thing to get a team over the top for a trade, maybe that's why you get a bunch of them. But yeah, it's crazy, man.
The beauty about not having stipend rules and the second round pick too is it's not guaranteed money. First round
That
picks
too.
are guaranteed contracts. So for a team that is dealing those away to a team, whether they are a contender or whether they are a young team looking to acquire draft assets, that is basically free experimentation with unguaranteed money. So there's no
That's a good
long
point.
term
Yeah.
investment, and there's a lot of value behind second round picks, which is crazy. This is what I'm saying. Like, why are dudes throwing 5 second rounders? Because that's 5 potential players, and one of them could be an All NBA dude. One of them can be an NBA All Star.
Perfect point. Yeah.
And so I mean, again, you can find gems in the second round. It's already proven. Like it's a 60-player draft, and most of those guys are going to be solid rotational players in the NBA. So I mean, I kind of just throw my hands up. Like it's discourse across Twitter. I was like, damn, this is crazy,
Yeah.
man. Guys are throwing second round
This
picks like it's nothing,
most of this
bro.
shit probably wouldn't even work in 2K.
That's what I'm saying. Like 5 second round picks, I've never heard of that. But I mean, um, I guess you kind of go all in, and it's not like you're giving up your first round pick anyways. So
Yeah. I mean, to get back to it, I love the addition of Jay Crowder. I've always been someone who was very anti the move, but that was only because I think prior to them lowering their asking price significantly, I think most of those talks included giving up Grayson Allen. And
yeah,
as much as Grayson Allen's not really a very liked individual in the league, he's alright in my books. The Caruso thing was suspect, but he plays his role. He fits very well alongside Giannis. I think being able to keep him and Crowder, it's a good move. Now, I think it's just a matter of how it's going to work in the starting lineup because Chris isn't even back in the starting lineup, and no doubt he's going to get back into that. It's kind of like you probably make maybe Chris play a bit of guard at sometimes. It's a good problem to have in a sense to where I think this kind of solidifies us as like a 10-man deep playoff team, which is a great thing to have. But no doubt it's going to be kind of figuring out, like you said earlier, what does he really have to give? And then, how's it going to work in terms of, because his whole thing was always he wanted to get like a starting role again. And when it comes to the Bucks, I don't know how viable that is, but it's a great move. I think it really, it's a move that I think is giving the PJ Tucker vibes of the year that the Bucks won. Now, I think bias aside, PJ Tucker, I would still take over Jay Crowder as a defender, but you know, Jay Crowder can shoot that thing. So it it's a very good move, but I think in addition to getting rid of 3 players, it's I think it positions the Bucks to be players in the buyout market. And when you look at the names that are there, it's not terrible, no doubt.
yeah, yeah. I think bio market's gonna be so interesting. I mean, that's capped off by Russell Westbrook, right?
Yeah,
And
Russell
it'll be
Westbrook,
interesting.
Reggie Jackson, Will Barton just got announced that he's probably going to be a part of that.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, there's a lot of players that are going to be key contributors the buyout market, and it'd be interesting to see where Russ goes.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, I think Jay Crowder is a really good addition. I mean, just solid wing depth again. Um, and it's not to say that the Bucks needed it, but again, It's a luxury to add a guy like Jay Crowder.
No doubt.
And with injury trouble, I think it's really important that they have that kind of insurance. And hopefully Portis gets back to um, playing like himself when he's back healthy. Chris has had some ups and downs, but he's looking like he's picking it up a little bit more. Um, because I think that the Bucks fully healthy is still a team to beat in my eyes.
Yeah,
Um,
unavoidable, man.
yeah, again, they were Middleton away from getting to the finals, in my opinion. So I'm sticking with that. Um, I wanted to ask you a question.
Well, let's hear it.
Which LA team had the best deadline?
Oh, that's a good question. Ah, man. If I'm looking at it, I think, looking at it here, thinking about like all the depth and all that, all the additions. I think I'll put it like this. I think the Lakers, no doubt, got the sexier names, but I think the Clippers were the ones that more geared up for like a deep, deep run. I'll say,
Yes.
for the Lakers, I mean, this thing I saw in StatMuse, their spacing significantly improved. They got, you know, when it comes to in terms of the threes per game, outside of guys like LeBron, they went from an average of 2.9. So that's guys like Pat Bev, Westbrook, Thomas Bryant, to now 6.9. You got D'Lo, Bamba, and Beasley. So that's great to see there. Today obviously didn't get to see them suit up, but the Lakers, I think they definitely got a lot younger, but you're more concerned about that D'Lo thing and if he's going to want to stay after this year. So that's probably the big thing there. But I mean, I think it's crazy how low Bones Highland got sold at because
Dude, we're second
he's
round picks, man.
electric. I know that's
My God.
robbery. Not
My
only
God.
that, he's able to play behind like Norman Powell, Eric Gordon, like Paul George. Like I don't think it really gets that much better in terms of being a young guy being able to not only contribute to a playoff team, but man, being able to learn from some of the best players to do it can't get much better than that. And I mean, Bones is a showman. It's gonna be crazy to see. I will say though, man, John Wall got done so dirty, man. He's
Yeah.
talking all
Yeah.
that shit, and now he's back. It's obviously he's gonna be part of the buyout market, but dang, you know,
Yeah, and that sucks, man. Like
yeah.
I actually I feel for the dude. And hopefully, everything works out for him. But you know what though? It's speaking about the Clippers, I think I'll put 90% down that Russell Westbrook will be a Clipper because of the fact
Ooh,
that there's no Reggie, there's no John Wall.
yeah.
Bones Highland is the point guard. I think they purposely, like, obviously, I think it just worked out perfectly for them to add an Eric Gordon, who is, dude, the fact you get Eric Gordon to this already deep wing rotation,
The man is free.
he's free. Oh,
He's probably gonna drop like 15 or 20 in his first game, something crazy like
he's
that.
gonna ball. He's gonna ball out. You got Plumlee, who's a starting
Oh,
caliber
I didn't
center.
even mention Plumlee was. I think I love that addition. I think it gives them not only just like another look, but like even having another center is solid.
They might have the best center duo in the league.
Mm. When it comes to
Zubac and
like,
Plumlee.
yeah,
I mean, just rotationally, like if they were to come off the bench for one another, Plumlee could start, Zubac could start. Doesn't matter. But the fact that you have a luxury where you can go, all right, Zubac, you can't start. I mean, or like Zubac come off the bench, we're gonna put Plumlee on, who's a starting caliber center. That's kind of crazy. Um, and so this team is pretty much 10 deep, two at each position, except point guard, because of the deals they did to clear up that position to get the players they did. So either they believe in Terrence Mann going full point guard because they've clearly been experimenting with that a little bit this year.
yeah, and you even saw
Him as a
PG
lead.
running point guard at times for sure.
Yeah, I mean they're doing a lot of experimentation because I think they're trying to have a establish a different play style. But having a point guard is also just a necessity for the game. And so, you know, luck of the draw, they have an open point guard spot.
Man,
I
that
think
would
Bones Highland at this point of his career is better as a backup player
yeah.
to come off the bench and look to score and provide some manpower. Russell Westbrook, stay in LA.
Man, that is a crazy storyline.
Brother, brother, I think it's happening. I think it's them or the Chicago Bulls.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. Everyone say Miami. That would be absolutely putrid. Man, the Clippers. Ah, man, I put my money on that.
I don't want him to do anything with Miami. Like, I said blow that team up. That team sucks, yo. I'm tired of the Miami Heat. That team is dead in the water. Like, just blow that team up, man. Like,
I love the idea of the Clippers though, because I mean, he
the
bought that
Clippers make
he
sense,
bought
man.
that home beside LeBron when he got traded. So,
That, dude, the Clippers just make so much sense. I
mm,
mean, they're gonna be in the
book
buyout
that
market,
shit,
but
book it,
I'm
Ruben.
saying, all right, guarantee. But yeah, I think Russell Westbrook's a Clipper.
I like that. I mean, keeping on that similar vein, the Grizzlies got Luke Kennard. You know, I think that was one thing that was really lacking in terms of the
Underrated
Grizzlies.
move.
Yeah, a super solid shooter, and I think I saw on another StatMuse thing. They're the only team with two top 10 3-point shooters, Luke Kennard, Desmond Bain. I think what it allows the Grizzlies to do is to play five out. You know, you have those times where Jaren Jackson's running a bit of center.
Yeah,
And
Jaren at the 5.
yeah,
Yes.
that's going to be a crazy good lineup, I think.
Dylan Brooks at the 4. Yeah, I'm just kidding.
I mean, you know, they got to
Sorry, I
talk
had to.
small.
I had to.
Jaren
Yeah,
Jackson,
no, you're right.
6'11", doesn't even average 7 rebounds. So, I mean, shit.
Yeah, and he's an NBA All-Star.
That is absolutely putrid. But getting back to the point, I think Luke Kennard was a super solid pickup. I mean, I think everything that's on him has always been about his defending, and you know, kind of fits the Grizzlies' agenda to an extent. But you know, I think you're gonna have to pick your poison whenever you see him and Bane out there, and whew, I
Yeah,
would not want to be the team defending that for sure.
yeah, no, for sure. I think the Grizzlies really nice pickup. I think Luke Kennard is going to provide a really good punch that I think has been lacking. I think they've been having trouble scoring the last few games.
I
I
mean,
think they're
they thought they were fine out west, and shit.
and look what yo, did you see CJ's tweet? CJ McCollum?
Yeah, he said this is all John's fault.
Yeah, this is all Jaw's fault, bro.
Ja, you're the
Ja.
reason Kevin Durant did the Warriors again 2.0, man.
Yeah, Jaw. Man, these guys talk way too much. And Jaw is my favorite player in the league right now. So, like, take that for what you will. I think he's just speaking way too much out of his arse right now.
Bro, I saw. Did you see that TikTok I sent you earlier?
No, I didn't. No, I
Oh
didn't.
my gosh, it was the 8 Mile, the final rap
Oh
battle.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah,
that was
yeah.
crazy.
No, that's
Holy
actually hilarious. Oh my god. Um. Uh.
man, Jaw. Holy, man, I love Memphis, but they've just made it so they've just made it so easy to like root against them to an extent, man. It's crazy.
Man, Dylan Brooks is Canadian, bro. Like,
They
I'm
got
starting
they
to be
got a
like,
hometown bro. They got two of them.
yeah. I'm starting to be like Dylan Brooks, man. I don't know what you are, dog.
Man, I'll take Kojo.
um,
I'll take Kojo over Dylan Brooks, man.
100%. I do want to touch on this. I think I asked you the question about which team had the better like thing, but I think it'll be a travesty if the Lakers don't make the playoffs at this point with this
Oh
roster.
yeah, holy. I mean, the big thing has always been the spacing. And I'm not gonna lie, I think the defensive potential of a lineup with Vando, Bamba, and Davis could be fucking disgusting.
God, oh my God.
Oh my
I love
goodness.
what they've done. I actually really love what they've done, starting with Rui Hachimura. I think
Yeah,
that was
I
a
think
great
Rui
deal.
was a very solid pickup.
Yeah, 100%. And then they obviously acquired D'Lo
I think
and
that's probably one of my favorite storylines heading into post All-Star break.
yeah, him coming back to LA. I think D'Lo's the perfect fit, man. I think D'Lo is such a great fit. I mean, he's so good off the ball as well. He can handle the rock. I think him in the pick and roll, especially as a shooting threat with AD. He's so good in the mid range, right? He's so good at working in the in between space. And I really like the fact that he's working with AD again, a 3 point threat in the pick and roll. And I think that just another big ball, like another ball handler that LeBron can provide, some support off from. And like you said, Vando is a really good defensive player, and I think he's got a lot
Man,
of
Jared
offensive potential too.
Vanderbilt is your favorite player's favorite player, man.
Yeah, no, yeah, he's awesome. Just the fact that they managed to get this kind of haul in return for what they like. I mean, Beverly for Bomba, bro.
Yeah.
Gang back, gang back. Yeah, right, Pat Bev. Your ass got sent to Orlando.
Man. Shit.
Yeah, can you imagine if he goes back to the Clippers? He's getting bought out.
That could be another crazy thing.
Dude, like all these players going back home. TJ Warren back to Phoenix. Jakob Poeltl back to Toronto.
Yeah, I mean, I saw Pee Wee
Dinwiddie to
one of the
Brooklyn.
through the wire guys saying that this is the going home trade deadline.
Crazy, but I mean, there's always something about familiarity. But to stick with it, Bamba is a really good pickup because I think like he's gonna be able to carve out just consistency. Because I mean, he's not playing behind three bigs now. It's like him and Vando and AD, and I think those three guys can rotate with Wenyan Gabriel with spot time, and that's the reason why they also want to trade Thomas Bryant because when AD came back, there's a lot of playing time that Thomas Bryant didn't have, which is kind of crazy because I'm like Thomas Bryant was playing really well.
Yeah, I mean, I understand. I heard he requested a trade.
He did, yeah, he
Yeah,
did. He requested it once his playing time started to diminish when AD came back. And it's interesting because I thought Thomas Bryant could have been a guy that played alongside AD because 3 point threat,
yeah. We
he
always
can play
talk about
center.
how AD doesn't like playing it.
Yeah, and then yeah, exactly. You can then slug AD over to the four, which is his natural position. So, anyways, I thought Rod Pelinka, who was getting cooked all year by his
Mm.
own players, by LeBron in freaking media, who went to talk to what's the name? Like in an interview, being like, "Oh, we didn't get Kyrie Irving," basically,
Man,
to being like, now you got D'Lo, Beasley, Vanderbilt, and Mo Bamba and Rui Hachimura within the last few weeks. Like, I don't think you can completely. At this point, it's like, dude, these guys got to perform
yeah.
because Pelinka did
I
his
don't.
job.
He didn't only save his job, but like I saw things on Twitter were saying like those apology forms, and man, that was a master class in GMing.
Yeah, and the 27th pick is protected too. And I don't think they're going to be that bad heading into that year. At least I don't think so because if they manage to keep the young assets that
Yeah,
they've got, I mean,
I think D'Lo
Hachimura
and
looks like
Hachimura are the two guys on contract years, right?
exactly. And remember, Bamba is still a young guy. I mean, so they managed to hang on to these assets moving forward, which I think they will because LA is a spot that does pretty well at keeping its free agents and attracting.
Mm.
So I think it works out well for them. And a team like LA can obviously be a little bit less stingy with their own draft capital because, I mean, dude, how can you just be like, oh, we're a crappy team? Oh, okay, LeBron James is going to leave Cleveland to sign here. Like, you know, they have that luxury, unfortunately, for many of us small market fans or many of us underdog
Yeah,
fans, but
they like
it
that.
is what it is.
Let's switch back to the East Coast real quick. Well, let's talk a little quick about this one. Did you see Jalen Brunson's reaction to being able to play with his college teammate again? Knicks get Josh
Yeah.
Hart. The Blazers get Cam Reddish. The man is free. Along with Svi Mikhailuk and Ryan Archidiakono and a protected first round pick. Now, what's your opinion on this trade?
Great for New York.
Mm.
The other side,
It's
what the
I love it.
hell is
It's a mid as fuck move, yo. It is
what the hell is
crazy.
Portland doing? I think they basically just gave up on this year.
You think so?
What does this move do for them?
Cam Reddish, untapped
Oh
potential,
God,
baby.
God, they got draft capital. That's what they got.
No, I think that and it opens up minutes for Shaden Sharp because I mean, you saw him drop
Yeah,
out of the dunk contest. I'm not saying that means he's gonna instantly slot into that starting role, but when you look at the young wings they do have, it's intriguing to let a guy like Josh Hart go to an extent because I mean, when I watched the game in Portland, it the spacing when he was there was just not that good. No, Josh Hart, he knocked down a three in that game, but he's definitely somebody that you're not worried about. And when you look at this makeup of this Blazers team, I think they're one of those teams that really will live and die by the three. You know,
yeah.
Jeremy Grant was hitting it at a crazy clip earlier in this season. Dame. Anthony Simons is one of the better shooters, like off the dribble and all that. And I think being able to give some time to a guy like Shaden Sharp, allowing him to like get more into the flow of the NBA game, because he's one of those guys that hasn't played like solid basketball, consistent basketball since high school. And then you get a guy like Cam Reddish, who you know how I feel about Cam Reddish. It's gonna be great to see, but I don't know if I would agree with that. They've given up on this year. I will say I think they're definitely it's a very lateral move, but slightly crooked
It's a
like
backwards move.
Lilis move.
I think it's a backwards move because then if you're gonna prioritize Shaden Sharp's development, you're taking a step back because Josh Hart is a proven commodity who will help you and contribute to winning games. And I think Portland's trying to do this right now. Winning and development. Trying to appease Damian Lillard.
Man, the Blazers are
It,
just on the Warrior sack, man.
yeah, I don't know, dude. I just don't think they're so the problem is, truthfully, the fact that they can't build a winning roster around Dame, but they don't want to part with Dame and start a rebuild, which like they could get unreal assets for a guy like Dame. Because imagine if Dame goes and says, "Hey, I want out." That trade package is going to be just as good, if not better, than the ones we've seen for some of the star players go.
No doubt.
And that accelerates a rebuild for a team like Portland, who already has, like you said, the young
The heir
assets
apparent, yeah.
to accelerate some of that stuff. So their lack of direction, because they're still trying to win, but they're also trying to develop players, and that's not an easy task to do when you don't have proven winning players other than Dame Lillard. And like Dame's made it to the Western Conference Finals, what? How many times? Once? Twice?
I think just the one time against the Warriors.
So I mean, I don't know what you think, DJ, because I think just there's lack of direction. And I think I said something like this where Portland and Toronto are very much in the same boat. I think Toronto a little bit better because their players are actually young. Their star players and their young assets are actually young. Whereas Dame is a guy who's at 30, 31 years old who should be on a contending team at this point, who's just breaking into the prime and potentially on the final legs of it. And the fact that he's stuck in Portland, it's kind of hampering both sides, both his road and goal to winning, and both the franchise and the organization's ability to like choose a very clear direction.
Yeah, I agree with that, no doubt. Man, maybe this is them gearing up to trade Dame. Never know.
I mean, Anthony Simons, Shane Sharp, get a ton of draft picks. You have those other guys.
Don't forget my boy Cam Reddish, man.
Oh man, where's Evan Fournier at?
On the end of the Knicks bench.
He's at the end, man. At least he was playing like 8 minutes a game. Cam Reddish
Oh
was nowhere
shit!
to
I
be
can't even
found.
come back on that. He was in the
That brother
doghouse,
was in
man.
the doghouse.
He was. I'm not gonna lie. Out of all the doghouses, Thibodeau's is probably the most locked down, man.
Thibodeau can also go stick a cigarette in his asshole. Like, I'm sorry.
Holy! I
Bro,
mean,
I hate that guy, man. Dude, this guy's ruined way too many careers, man. This guy ruined Derrick Rose, bro.
for real, man. His pass is revoked. I would never. I would never.
Stick a little bud right down the pipe hole.
Holy. All right, let's let's try this. Let's do a little low key one. Just keep it on the Blazers.
Tribal. Wow, what a
Matisse
great pickup.
Thybulle, the
I
six.
thought they wanted 3 and D wings. They just got
They just
half
got the
the
D.
D. Yeah. Oh man.
Nah, but the main reason I bring this up is the Jalen McDaniels move to the Sixers. I think that's a very underrated one.
Yeah, 100%.
Man, that's fucking highway robbery.
That
Just
is.
leave Mikhailuk get some seconds. Man, Jalen McDaniels gives. I think it gives them some very much needed size for their bench. When you look at the Sixers outside of Joel, Tobias, the size is kind of dismal to an extent. Obviously the guard rotation is probably the best in the league. Maxey, Melton, Harden. That three-headed monster is disgusting. But when you head down the line, I can't even think about who their backup wings are to be real. What, Daniel House?
I
Furkan
mean, Niang,
Korkmaz? Oh, Niang's
Tobias.
solid, yeah. But I
I
think
mean,
Jalen
Furkan
McDaniels
Korkmaz.
is someone who gives them like another look into an extent. Because I think Niang, he's not really going to do much outside of shooting. Jalen McDaniels, I think, gives them somewhat a multi-level scoring. And the fact that he's nice and wiry, 6'9", got a big wingspan, I think that's going to be great to see. I mean, the shots he's going to be able to make playing alongside guys like James Harden and Joel Embiid, it's going to be great to see, no doubt.
I mean, it was going to be really difficult for Matisse Thybulle to kind of carve out his own role, right? I mean, Tobias, Jordan Niang, uh, Daniel House. I mean, these guys established themselves. PJ Tucker. I mean, it's really hard to break that rotation, especially if you don't provide anything else other than defense. Because I mean, if I'm being quite frank, like you don't need a whole lot of that when Embiid's on your back end,
Yeah.
and then you have specialty wings that are dedicated to that and provide the offensive end. So Jalen McDaniels is a nice pick because he's also a young player, right? So this is something that you can say in the timeline of Tyrese Maxey. Let's say when the era of Harden and Embiid is over, uh, you can say we've got a young player in Jalen McDaniels. I think this is his second year, right? Is it not? Second or third year in the
I
league.
think it's either third or fourth. Because let me Google that real quick. I think this is his first year being like consistently in the rotation. Because I know like the first couple years it was like a little sparse.
We're not getting him mixed up with his brother, right? Jaden McDaniels in
Nah, this
Minnesota.
is Jalen. Yeah, first
Yeah.
year. Oh, this is fourth season.
Mm.
Because, yeah, first year only played 16 games, bumped that up to 47, 55. Now he's at 56, and he's playing the most minutes he's ever played in his career. He's averaging about 27 right now. And, man, he's another guy I think is going to be looked at as, like, one of the sleeper moves for sure.
I think the Blazers. It's a nice pickup. Again, young guy,
Mm.
right? Young guy. Um, Development. That's what I'm saying, man. Clear direction. It's really hard to develop these guys when you're so focused on trying to win with a player that, you know, great offensively, but we don't talk enough about the red flags in Dame's game, which have made him a liability ultimately on the defensive end.
I've never seen
And
Dame clamp. He don't
absolutely
he
not.
can't guard to save his life, man.
Absolutely not. And that's what I'm saying. Yeah, the importance of defensive wings like a Tybal, mm, like
Like
Jeremy
Cam
Grant. I mean,
Reddish.
didn't that brother actually defend?
He was supposed to be a solid 3-and-D guy coming out of college.
He's been a 0 and Z guy.
No, I get what you mean.
But I don't know. Truthfully, I like the tribal edition if if they go, all right, development only by Dame. There's no clear direction. I think they got to establish that for it to actually work. You can get all the young players, 3-and-D guys you want, but I think there's got to be a shift in their roster. I think if there's anybody that's next to go there, it's Nurkic. But you know,
I feel like Nurk would have been moved if he was healthy, because I know he's out right now. Yeah.
mm-hmm. Defensive liability to that guy.
But hey, the continuity with Dame makes him an asset, apparently.
Wow! They have also been to the Western Conference Finals once, and they got blown out.
Was Nurk on that? No, yeah, Nurk was on that. Was it? It was like maybe the year after where he snapped his leg, but
Oh, yeah.
kind of loosely related to the Blazers. The Hawks get Sadiq Bey, the Pistons get James Wiseman, and the Warriors get the treasure trove of 5 second-round picks that they used to get Gary Payton the second back. You know, the young gloves back in the Bay, man. It's a beautiful thing to see. Let's start with the Hawks side of this. What do you think about the Sadiq Bey edition?
Oh, great addition. Great addition. Great addition. Great addition. I mean, they badly needed someone who was like just some more wing depth, and they haven't been able to establish that kind of rotation between Hunter, AJ Griffin, Bogey, Bogdan. So I mean, I think Sadiq Bey is a really solid player, man. You add him to that rotation. I think he's a really nice piece alongside that backcourt. Um, but for me, I think the killer piece is Mr. James Wiseman in Detroit. I mean, you trade basically James Wiseman for second rounders, and
just to get a guy who was back on your team last year.
Isn't it kind of sad, like how his career has kind of materialized? Like he was highly touted to be the guy.
Yeah, he was a unicorn.
But injuries, I think, drive motivation. But I also hope that this change of scenery will give him what he needs. And it's not like he hasn't exploded for big games. I just don't think that he's been given the right opportunity.
I think it was just all down. It all just came down to fit.
Mm-hmm.
He's a guy who needs the ball in the post, and the Warriors will never really bend the knee to that to an extent.
Absolutely not. This is why a guy like Kevin Looney's perfect for that team, right? Or Jakob Poeltl. Boom. Jakob Poeltl would have been the perfect addition for them. But if I may say, shit, what was I going to say? Oh my god.
I think the only thing I'm concerned about is that I saw that they said they're going to start him.
Yeah.
But just seeing how great Jalen Duren's been playing, it's confusing to see how it's going to work. Now, maybe they'd experiment with a couple like dual big lineups, but when it comes to the spacing with those two, it's definitely a concern, I will say.
Yeah, 100% is concerned. But I guess they have to make it work somehow, right? These are their two young prospects alongside Cade and Jaden Ivey. So they got to make it work somehow. I mean, maybe they do. Maybe they bring back the two big lineups. And side note, James Wiseman is the perfect example of why you never draft on fit. You never draft on fit. You never draft on fit. Because imagine what LaMelo Ball would have looked like on this Golden State Warriors team.
He would have smoked his way out of that team, man. No, okay. Oh, man, that would have been disgusting.
He would have been the perfect running mate for Curry.
I think either that and you look at the rest of that draft, because I think that was a Halliburton draft, right? Imagine a guy like that on that team. Oof.
Regardless, they could have had anybody else other than Wiseman.
Yeah.
You never draft based on fit. You just never do. and imagine if they managed to get the first pick and they took Ant. Was Ant the number one pick of that year?
Yeah, that was the Ant year.
Damn, Ant on that team would be so dirty.
Oh man,
Oh,
they play five
crazy.
out, or they play four out, one in, but the guard is the one that's in. Man, but yeah, I agree. I think the Hawks side of it, very solid move. I think I'm excited to see what him and AJ Griffin are going to be able to do for the stretching on the floor together. That's going to, I
Yeah.
think, be another nasty thing. And yeah, I think the refreshing scenery is something that James Wiseman definitely needed. And it's crazy because, I mean, can you think of the other second overall pick that's on their team that got traded to them?
What?
Can you name the other second overall pick that got traded to the Pistons because they shot the bed at their other team?
Who was it?
I'll give you a hint. He got drafted before Luca.
Who are we talking about? Oh my god.
See, that's how much of a bust he's been so far. Marvin Bagley.
Oh yeah, that's right. Oh my god, was Marvin Bagley the number one pick in that
No,
draft?
he was the second pick. I think it was Aiden, Bagley,
Oh,
Luca,
that's
Trey.
right. That's right. That's right. Wow.
So
What
I
is
mean,
up with the Pistons and messing up bigs and drafts?
well,
Or
no,
I mean, like
getting
not
the
even
messed up
them messing
bigs.
up, but then yeah, getting like they had like Darko Milicic, and then it's like they end up on the Pistons somewhere somehow.
Man,
I don't know, man.
this is all because of Darko. That's probably one of the bigger what ifs of the NBA. But no, I think James Wiseman has a chance to carve out a solid proposition here, or if anything, set himself up. Play his value up, and
Yeah,
maybe there's a team that needs a center, and we'll see from there. But I just it's just crazy to think how it's all gonna fit around together because I think Jalen Duran's like solidified himself as the center there. So
at least he
if
should have, or maybe who knows? Maybe
yeah,
he ends up being a stretch four. I don't know.
I mean I don't even know if Jalen Duran's attempted a three this year.
I don't think he has either, but I mean, they'll make it work. I mean, Wiseman seems to have a bit of a stroke.
Yeah, maybe Duran turns into like a bit of a Vando in an extent. You never know.
I mean, again, I think you just gotta get the young talent, you gotta get the prospects, and then you just try to figure it out after.
Yeah.
And in terms of like talent, like young talent, they've got those pieces. I think it's a matter of just making sure those guys get some growth and development. I mean, when Cade comes back, like I think Cade's gonna have a monster year next year. Him and Jaden Ivey in the backcourt, I think that's gonna be fun. Killian Hayes has clearly played himself back into like a standard of an NBA player. Like he's looking really good. Truthfully, I feel like I'm missing a name here on the Pistons, but
Still
um,
got Boyan.
yeah, they still got Boyan. I'm actually quite surprised that he wasn't traded at the deadline.
Yeah, I'm still on a solid contract too, even with the extension.
Yeah, he had a lot of suitors. So interesting that they ultimately didn't trade the dude, but it is what it is.
Yeah, no, it's crazy. But all right, who would you crown? Maybe outside of the Suns, because I think that's kind of the obvious cop out here. Last little thing, who would you say was like the overall winner of the trade deadline?
Well, we didn't talk about one deal.
Which one was it again?
Um, I don't know if I want to crown them the winner, but I will crown them the reason why everything else happened and Kyrie
Oh
Irving
yeah, we didn't.
and the Mavs.
Shit, let's talk about it, man. Kyrie's first game back, he was cooking.
Cooking, he looks so good, man.
Oh
I
my
think he looks
goodness.
happy.
But
Wow.
are you on the what's it called? Are you on the side of that you think it's a rental?
No,
You think he stays?
I think he stays because he's not signing the MLE with any other team. I believe there are six teams that could offer him the max contract this season. All of them, which are going to be teams in the lottery, except
Mm.
for no, I think most of them are the Pistons. um, the Rockets, the Thunder, the Pacers, I think the Magic, and there's another team or two, but they are teams that are not good. So, is Kyrie going to leave and sign a taxpayer's MLE or an MLE or significantly less than the max contract when that's what he was trying to that's ultimately what he was trying to negotiate with when he was with Brooklyn. They didn't want to give him the numbers, they didn't want to give him the guaranteed money, they didn't want to give him the years. A team like Dallas can do that because they've got the bird rights, so they can offer him the full 5-year max deal. If he walks, he can sign a max contract for 4 years with another team. He's just not going to win. He's not going to win. Or if he wants to go to the team that he does want to, they've got to clear significant cap space for him to sign at the number he wants. And there's a lot of teams that just quite frankly can't do that. And so, like, do you trust that Kyrie Irving's going to sign a taxpayers MLE?
Absolutely not.
Absolutely not. He's not going to go to LA, and he's not going to sign for $8 million a year. Like, he's not going to make that sacrifice. I think that he's good. I think the Mavericks are really a landing spot for him. I think from personally, if I were Kyrie Irving, I think this is the best landing spot I could have chosen outside of the ones that obviously I wanted to go to. Right, like he could have gone to LA, but clearly Joe Tsai was like, "Yeah, you're not getting you're not getting where you want to go because we don't give a crap about you anymore and what you did to us." But yeah, I think best landing spot for him was in Dallas. He can sign his money, play alongside Luca. Boom. There's no drama in Cuban land.
True, man. I never thought about it from that angle because I feel like, well, maybe not the NBA, but just to go off on a quick little tangent, the NFL is a league that makes the cap space seem non-existent at times, and obviously you can't really do that with the NBA. But I feel that with how GMs work and how they're able to make things stretch, it always feels like it's always possible. But yeah, I mean, when you lay it out like that, a lot of the teams that Kyrie would want to go to, I mean, it makes sense. They can't really do it. I mean, if the Lakers were to even try to do it, they just lose all the depth. They just like gave up to get. They just lose all of that, I think.
Yeah, or it'd have to be a sign and trade, right? It'd have to be a
Yeah,
sign and trade deal, which I'm not sure that is a benefit to any team. Because let's say they wanted to do a sign and trade with LA, and maybe it's a sign and trade for Kyrie and D'Lo. I mean, a team, unless there was significant draft capital or other pieces that filled the depth of that roster, we don't often see sign and trades unless it's
beneficial for
really
both sides, I would say.
beneficial, exactly beneficial for both sides, and or there's usually how do I say this? A loyalty play. I mean, the Toronto Raptors did it with Kyle,
Mm,
right? They ultimately won that deal because Precious Achua. But you know what I mean.
mm. Real quick, where would you rank Luca and Kyrie in terms of talented backcourts?
Like in terms of current backcourts right now,
We could do both because I'm not gonna lie. Looking back,
historical and currently,
historical and currently, I'm not gonna lie. I think they're top. When you look at each's like
individually on
offensive
paper.
capabilities, I don't think there's anybody really fucking with them.
Um,
So when you think about all time, I mean,
are we? Okay, let's say currently as they are like are we gonna talk about their prime peak? Like Kyrie Irving 2016 Cavaliers and Luca right now.
oh, that's
Like we're talking about these
ooh.
players at their peak, and then we're gonna be comparing that across the board. Because if we're doing
I
peak,
guess yeah. If you're going peak for peak,
okay, then I'm taking James Harden and Kyrie Irving.
yeah. Okay, what about like as of now? Because yeah,
Okay,
Kyrie's definitely not at his peak now, but he's definitely not so far removed from it that he's like
yeah,
playing on a single hamstring like James Harden, I'd say.
okay. Right now, I mean, yeah, I don't think I don't think there's ever been as explosive a backcourt. I mean, in terms of talent and accolades, I mean, you could easily go Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, but
True. Yeah.
but Kyrie and Luca individually, like, I don't think we've ever seen anything like
Yeah,
this.
I just don't think you've ever seen a backcourt this capable of both being solid isolation scorers.
I mean, they would have had that with James and Kyrie, but
And
James was also like 4,500 pounds when like
true.
when he came to Brooklyn and they were actually on the floor together.
And Giannis bounced him out the league.
Yeah, yeah, man, he gave them the back shots.
Yep. Kevin Durant's big ass toe couldn't get behind the line.
Size 13 ounce. Bro, can you imagine if he just didn't wear a size like half size bigger? How he would have changed the trajectory of the league?
Yo, I'm not gonna lie. When you think about that, I don't think it's crazy to say the Nets are en route to a potential three-peat even.
Yeah, because then they
It's
all would
real
have stayed
shit.
together.
Yeah.
Like, there's no disgruntled, there's no BS. Like, I think they would have figured it out.
But then I think the Steve Nash effect is still somewhere lurking there.
No, he's an awful coach, man.
Yeah.
Sorry, Steve-O. We love you out here in BC, but
Hey man, you put us on the map, but
yeah,
shit, man, you
just don't coach us. Just don't coach us when we get to the map.
true, true. But man, let's word it like this then. Who would you say is like, in terms of watchability, what team do you think's made the biggest jump?
Lakers,
Mm, yeah, yeah.
Lakers, Lakers by far. I just think fit, names, um, roster, fees, like viability. Like this team went from like six playable dudes to now a full rotation. So I think the Lakers. I mean, I would have said Clippers. I just don't think the names are as sexy.
Mm,
Um, because I mean, Plumlee, Eric Gordon, Bones Highland, really good players, contributors. But I mean, anytime you add an All Star caliber player like D'Lo, who's been an All Star, and then you add like really solid rotation pieces like they did, I'd give it to them. Um,
Scottie Pippen
so
Jr.'s stepfather is a killer, man.
bro, that's crazy, man. Oh my
Yo,
god,
for real.
bro, they're gonna play on the same
Holy.
team.
Oh my goodness. You think Malik
It's
Beasley's
crazy.
gonna sun him?
Oh man, I don't know, dog. That's crazy.
For real, bro. Yeah, I think for me, I'm gonna go with the Nets here, man. I think
Mm.
the 2019 Nets, the 2011 Nuggets, those are teams that hold a special place in basketball culture. You know, I think it's just gonna be nice to see. I think it's gonna be. I hope we finally see how much of a bag Mikal Bridges potentially has, because you always hear about. I mean, he could do it. That's just not his role. But now
He's gonna be a
that,
star here.
yeah, there's no really like alpha. Mikal, man, get in the bag. Not only that, I mean, Cam Johnson's playing for a contract. I think Cam's gonna be able to break out again. I mean, Spencer Dinwiddie's probably one of the best one-on-one players in the league, and Cam Thomas has been on an absolute tear. He kind of fell back to earth today, but I think he's a guy that's definitely carved out that for sure he should at least be in the rotation. So I'm excited to see how the Nets are going to progress throughout the year. I think for sure they'll maybe be. I think they'll fall a bit for sure, but I don't think they'll fall out of the playoffs for sure.
Or this is a team that plays better because there's no egos anymore, and this is
Yeah.
the team that becomes super coachable, right? Like we just it's like again, that's why I compared him to the Nuggets team because when that deal went out with Carmelo and they got those pieces back, that team became super fun to watch. They were coachable. There wasn't any egos. They shared the ball. So, anyways, I just think that there's two ways it can go. I think they're either gonna have that Raptors effect when they got Grievous Vasquez and John Salmons and Chuck Hayes for freaking Rudy Gay, and everyone's like,
Grievous
they're tanking.
Vasquez is a fucking deep cut, man.
They're tanking, and then they all of a sudden they're the third best team in the Eastern Conference. Or they could totally fall and be like, well, yeah, clearly we don't have enough talent. So, but I doubt the latter.
Yeah, for sure. All right, Ruben, you got anything? You got any last little things to get off here?
Um, my last piece to say is I really hope that Jakub Pertl is not just a rental. I just need to say that because if he
I
is,
respect that.
and then we
Man,
lose
man of
Fred
best.
and we lose Gary Trent for nothing, this front office is cooked.
And I just want to say, Los Angeles, man, the Lakers. It's gonna be great to see you guys play in the play-in.
Wonderful. And then I can't wait to see you guys get bounced out of the first round by Nikola Jokic at the Denver Nuggets.
Oh man, that would be crazy. And with that, stay safe, stay blessed. We'll see y'all soon.
Back shots, back shots, back shots.